Hi, it's me Deepak, and today I'm going to post some ideas on what we can call the purpose of creation. As I travel the road, many questions come up. Do we humans and the universe have a non material source? Are we here to fulfill some inherent potential, or are we accidents? What's the purpose of our existence right now as we live it? Is there a purpose at all? If there is an unmanifest God or mystery, then why does it become manifest? Can we help the evolution of the universe? What do you mean that the world is an illusion? And what is the practical value of knowing any of this? So, let me try and answer this to the best of my knowledge and what I've learned in my travels and my interactions with other people as well. As you know, there is evidence that the universe began 13.8 billion years ago in what is referred to as the Big Bang. What was there before the Big Bang? Well, the best answer is just potential. In other words, there was no space time, there was no energy, there was no information, and there was no matter. We don't know what caused this field of potentiality, which is really non conceptualized, to erupt into the Big Bang. But once it occurred, then things were unleashed in a way that ultimately there was the development of hydrogen and helium and elements, natural, light elements, and then heavy elements, and way later, on a planet called Earth, there was the development of organic structures and then biological forms and then the whole process of evolution. Science has pretty much worked this out very carefully, and all the evidence does suggest that this must all have happened. On the other hand, the major problem these days, or the major debate, is not whether this happened, but was it a series of accidents that caused this to happen? Was the whole of cosmology one accident after another? Or I should say, cosmogenesis. Was the whole of cosmogenesis one accident after another? The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Planet Earth is about 3.8 billion years old. The first life forms started about 2 billion years ago. They were called chemolitho-autotrophic hyperthermophiles. Chemo because they're attracted to chemicals. Chemolitho, they lived on rocks. Autotrophic, they learned to replicate themselves. Hyperthermophiles because the rocks were in the rims of volcanoes. In any case, from these came plants, and plants, of course, consume carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. According to some evolutionary theorists, the plants started to poison the earth with oxidation, the kind of damage that occurs when your apple rusts or anything rusts. It's the damage from oxidative phosphorylation. And then from plants evolved animals who breathed the oxygen that was poisoning the earth and in turn breathed out the carbon dioxide that the plants were breathing. And so they had a symbiotic relationship. And then animals, through a process called natural selection and random mutations, ultimately evolved into human beings who developed nervous systems through which they can ask these questions. We are a species that is capable of asking these questions that are being posed right now. Is there any purpose? Is it all an accident? Is our planet just a speck of dust in a mindless void? a capricious anomaly, in the words of Carl Sagan, a capricious anomaly in the sea of space? Or is there meaning and purpose? And the answer is depends on which school of thought you come from. There is a school of thought that says that, yeah, everything is an accident and there is no purpose, there is no meaning. And this we might call, maybe the school of thought that Richard Dawkins belongs to, and many other eminent scientists. And yet, there's another school of thought that says that the ultimate ground of all creation is a field of pure consciousness. And this field of pure consciousness conceives, constructs, governs, and becomes all of reality, which is space time, energy, information, and the world of objects, which includes biological organisms and the objects of their perception, both animate and inanimate. That consciousness is the ground of being, the ground of existence that creates all this. It's a field of possibilities, it's non locally correlated. In the depths of its being, it is unpredictable. It takes leaps of creativity, quantum leaps of creativity. It has what is called observer effect. So that's the other school of thought, and that school of thought believes that what is seen as an accident is actually a synchronistic leap in creativity, and that creativity is inherent in consciousness. Many people say, what's the purpose of all this? Why does the unmanifest become the manifest? Why does consciousness create? And the answer that we are given, which may be actually not very satisfying, is that it is the nature of consciousness to be conscious. And it is the nature of consciousness to create and evolve and take leaps of creativity. And that we are now in that stage of evolution where the human nervous system is that privileged organ in the universe, that privileged instrument in the universe through which the universe is becoming self-conscious. And by becoming self-conscious, at least in the manifest domain, it is through the human nervous system that the future of evolution will happen. It will be a co-creation where we and the elements and forces of the universe will participate together in the future evolution of the universe. And that our ultimate purpose is actually to perpetuate or help this evolution through conscious participation. One of the questions that's frequently asked is, what do you mean by illusion or projection? Is the whole universe actually contained within consciousness? This is a very radical idea, but it makes sense because, everything that we experience, either subjectively or objectively, in the world of space-time causality, is indeed experienced in our consciousness. When I look at a tree, the tree seems to be out there. Or when I look at a galaxy, it seems to be billions of light years away. But the experience is still in my consciousness. And when I imagine everything, the experience is also in my consciousness. The objects of my imagination and the objects of the physical world all come into existence in my consciousness. They do not exist there by themselves, because what exists there by itself is a radically ambiguous and ceaselessly flowing quantum soup, a vibration which interacts with my biological organism, which is also a vibration, to create vibrations in my nervous system, which are also vibrations, on-off signals. And these on-off signals in my brain are translated into both the subtle objects of my consciousness and also the material objects of the physical world. They come into existence in consciousness. Without consciousness, the universe remains unmanifest. In the end, it is consciousness interacting with itself that creates all objects of perception, all modes of perception, and all observers that perceive. It's all self-interaction. So consciousness basically interacting with itself produces all this. Why? Well, it's the play of consciousness. That's